have everything you'd want in a veteran, in an American, in a man. And we're going to play features for him. He's our veteran of the day, brought to you by our man John Basiliga and the great Basiliga Hospitality Group. So, in any event, I'm devastated with the loss. So we're going to play clips from Joe on this radio show. He was on a number of times, particularly in relation to Memorial Day and Veterans Day. And he passed at 96. 96 years old, our guy. So much else going on, and we're going to talk about it. Here we are. I want you to think about this. And that, by the way, that doesn't mean we can be dismissive of the communist leanings of the Democrat Party, the communist consumption of the Democrat Party. It doesn't mean we can't dismiss it, but we've got to think about how idiotically stupid they are. Everything that they've promote has been tried already. And everything that they espouse has failed already. And not just failure. Misery has ensued. And people like Paige Cognetti are still pushing it. I don't even... how do you talk to someone who is committed to insanity? And how do you actually treat as normal a Paige Cognetti who gets her money from the Soros family and other billionaires and billionaire groups that advocate the fall of America, that are doing everything they can to bring it about, and part of that is trying to get Paige Cognetti elected? It's remarkable. And some of the people will insist on being fooled. Oh, she's so nice when I say, what? We just outlined to you corruption in her mayoralty in Scranton, where I'm forced to live. Love that city. We opened another splash pad. What are we doing for the teens who are most at risk of getting into trouble, getting into gangs, which it's a growing force since Cognetti's mayor? What do we do for them? What do we do to preserve Joe Barna's America? Well, they want it destroyed. They want it destroyed. They hate it. That's who they are. That's what this is about. Unreal. 9:21 on my Picardo's watch. We'll take a break. We'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. August 20th, 1955, Murph tells us, a new singer debuted with his first single, Maybelline. The singer is Chuck Berry, and the rest is history. And our man, Joe Barna, fresh out of Korea, is back in America. Bob Cordaro back with you on WILK. Joe Barna, Korean combat veteran, who will be featuring throughout the program, passed away yesterday about 5 a.m. at the age of 96, and we'll be honoring him today because he was not just a great American, not just a great Marine, not just a hero, not just an author, but he was a friend. And it's a sad day. By the way, I was at a wake yesterday. Doris Coyer of Dunmore. Beautiful, beautiful woman. 98, I believe. She passed away. And went up to see her 3 sons and all that at the Carlucci DeSantis funeral home. And, yeah, we're losing these great nonagenarians. And we talk about a great nonagenarian veteran. We've got to talk about Ron Roach. Roach Supply, R-O-C-H-E. Premier bath and kitchen supplier in Northeast Pennsylvania. 75 years in business. He's still doing it. Ron Roach still doing it. Visit roachsupply.com today, R-O-C-H-E. Or go to their stores, Honesdale and Chapman Supply in South Abington Township, right past the Notch. 9:28 on my Ricardo Jewelers watch. It's a tough day. By the way, I had a conversation with we always do. We have a little back and forth, a little repartee with Jason as he's leaving, and Nancy, of course, when she's here. And he said Trump had a great event, a great discussion regarding the ballroom construction. And I said, well, he knows his construction, and he knows what he's trying to do with the ballroom and why he's doing it. Because friends of mine sent me clips of this, Trump talking about that construction. And I said that the problem is he just talks too much and goes on too much, which is why. And Jason said, "Well, it's a shame, he had the lifeguard and the young kid he saved in the Oval Office, and it was a great event until, and this was Jason's perspective, again from a left-wing perspective, until he started attacking the reporter." And I said, "Well, you've got it completely wrong. The reporter started asking ignorant questions and accusatory questions with a 10-year-old and a 16-year-old there who should have been honored and who should have been asked about." They said, "Well, it might be their only chance." I said, "You can talk to Donald Trump 24 hours a day as a reporter. This isn't Joe Biden where you might not even see him for another month. Trump talks too much. He'll be available tomorrow. There'll be a press avail today. You can keep it on subject, but see, they hate him with such a passion. They want to ruin good moments. That they think is their job. And that's why they're disgraceful. That's why they're discredited, the press. That's why I watch CNN because I'm forced to. I watch MSNBC because I'm forced to do it for my job. They're so awful you can't describe it. I read the Scranton Tribune and the Citizen's Voice. And the Hazleton Standard Speaker because I have to. They're so awful. Their editorials are so awful and actually ridiculous. By the way, and Fox, God bless them. They truly try to be unbiased. So they have a guy named Jared Moskowitz. congressman from Jewish congressman from Florida. And he beat back a DSA challenger comfortably in a Democrat primary. And they're asking him like he's normal, as if he's normal, as if there's no difference, as if there's a huge difference between the normal Democrat in public office today and the communists who are seeking to take over the party. And I tell you, and I know they already have. Please tell me what Jared Moskowitz has done other than mouthing support for Israel. Tell me what he's done, what he's voted for, what he's supported that's different than the communists. Insane. There is no difference. And even media like Fox is not picking it up. Like they're not pointing it out. It's the truth. Tell me the difference. Hey, we got to go to a veterans tribute. And we've got to go to our sponsors. But I really want to have this discussion. Please tell me the difference between the Democrat leadership in Washington, D.C., and the Democrat Socialists of America. I cannot detect it one bit. We'll talk about that. Bob Cordaro, WILK. You can reach me at 570-883-0098. We'll be back. Our Veterans Tribute this hour, as with all 3 hours today, brought to you by our man John Basiliga. And it's Thursday, so we're talking about Basiliga hospitality. What is Basiliga hospitality? Well, it is 3 of the best bar restaurants you will ever go to. And when people go, they say, yeah, you were right. The Old Brook Inn, 307 Springbrook Township. It's an event space. It's a fine dining area. 2 separate bars. They're both fabulous. Old school and one in a new atrium area. fun, great drinks, great food. Old Brook Inn. The Far Street Tavern on Far Street in the Great Trips Park section of West Scranton. The reimagined Far Street Tavern that's been there forever. But it's gorgeous. Service is great. Bar food and more. Queen City Tavern, downtown Oliphant. Right on the main drag. Again, reimagined a 2-story atrium. It's gorgeous. And the food, the fun, the people, the whole package is awesome. And coming soon, casual dining at another reimagined legend, the Coney Island Lunch on Lackawanna Avenue, downtown Scranton. And right next to it, Reagan's Ice Cream Shop. Both of them opening, we hope, this month. But they won't open until it's just right. 96-year-old Joe Barna, Korean veteran, frequent guest on this program and on the Bob Cordaro Show on TV. A Marine, a veteran's veteran, a writer, a raconteur. He fought in combat in Korea. He bore the flamethrower. And he told his stories better than anyone. But joining us now, one of his best friends and a guy who took great care of him for many years and who brought him to me on a number of occasions, Frank Ballin. Frank, how are you, man?
Oh, Bob, thank you for having me. And it's a little emotional.
Sure.
But it's all good memories. And it was a privilege to get to meet you. And I know how much your friendship meant to Joe. And, boy, there's just going to be such a hole in my life.
Honest to God. But
I'll get through it, and because of the great memories.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was just a privilege and an honor to be able to, first just to be his friend.
Yeah.
And then just the last few months to be able to help him as I did. So, it's all good.
Frank, he got ill. He got better. He got ill. He got better. And then
That's exactly. It was a roller coaster ride for 2026 for Joe. And he just kept fighting and fighting and fighting. And he would say, and I think he said it to you,
yeah.
I'm never going to quit. And he didn't. I think his body just got tired, though, at the end. And he just left us. But he was in great spirits on Monday night. And, I got the call then. His great-granddaughter was with him through the evening of Monday to Tuesday. And he just passed away yesterday morning at home.
Great family, great gang. Remember, we went to his birthday party at the VFW in Freeland, and it was just a beautiful group of supporters and people who loved him. Because he was a character, Frank, wasn't he?
Oh, he sure was. Like, in fact, on Monday evening, as I was getting ready to leave, and we would all, if he didn't have the hearing aids in, we would all speak louder to him. And then he knew that, and as we were close to him, he started yelling back at us. He said, see, you guys are all yelling at me. I could hear you, but half the time he couldn't. So,
Frank, we had so many occasions to be with him. It's almost like there were no stories left. But is there anything that sticks to your mind that about Joe Barna that you'd like to tell us about today?
Sure. I'm not sure if I was hoping you would ask me something like that. So I was just trying to think of something, and maybe not the military related, something with his personal life. Yeah. There's a great story how he met his love of his life, his Eleanor, that he had for 67 years, and he was 16 at the time, and he became part of this little ragtime baseball team that was thrown together to replace another team that left the local league. And they went down to in our neck of the woods here. If you say the Jetto Stars, like baseball organization or athletic organization, people immediately know what you're talking about. Yeah. They were legendary with their baseball, and they produced major league players, including that Tommy Magic. But that's years later. But anyway, so we're talking here in the early 50s, and no, the late 40s. It has to be the late 40s, and put together this team. Joe's team went down and they had to do 2 trips in a big car. They went down the coach's car. 9 guys. Not at all had shoes. Some of them didn't even have gloves. and the Ghetto Stars team came out with. Now it's the Ghetto Stars junior team, but they came out with bags of balls and bats and cleats and clean uniforms. And these guys didn't have gloves and stuff. Well, anyway, as it turned out, Joe pitched that game, and somehow he pitched a one-hitter. He won the game 1-0. But after the game, there were these Ghetto girls there that were throwing rocks at the team. And Joe always said, we don't care because we beat their team. One of those girls throwing rocks were at the movies that night, and they were throwing peanuts at Joe in the back. And he turned around, and it's the same girls that were throwing the rocks, so only now they were giggling. He met them outside, and one of those was his wife-to-be. And he said he said, I knew it then, that she was special. And that's just a wonderful story of just thought, how life brings people together and how he met her then.
In all my conversations with him, I'm actually shocked I never heard that story.
Oh, I'm glad I said when you didn't hear it, because
fabulous.
I know you guys have talked, intensively. But that's just a wonderful, wonderful story.
Well, Frank Balin, so much. Thank you so much, and thank you for bringing him into my life and all of our listeners and all of the television viewers when we had him on the television program as well. We thank you so much. We'll be praying for his soul, and God bless you for all you did for him.
And thank you, Bob, for having me on, too.
All right, my man.
And it's been a pleasure to get to meet you, too, sir.
And you're not going anywhere because you're doing some things that are interesting in your own right, all right?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
All right. Frank, thank you.
God bless, sir. Take care.
Frank Balin regarding our great veteran, the one we're paying tribute today, who we lost this week, Joe Barna. We'll be back. AccuWeather forecast brought to you by the great gang at Montage Mountain Water Park. And it looks a little rainy today, but the lodge is still going, baby. And they've got a great arcade there. But let's see. Not as warm today. Humid with periods of rain and a thunderstorm beginning in the late morning. 74. Snedeker says noon. Tonight, clear, low 56. Tomorrow, gorgeous. A water park day if there ever was. Partly sunny and warmer, high 82, low 62. Saturday, not as warm but pleasant with intervals of clouds and sunshine, 74 degrees, low 64. Sunday, mostly cloudy and humid with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, high 80, low 55. Monday, mostly sunny, pleasant, less humid, high 77, low 53. Another great water park week at Montage Mountain, where it's 71 degrees right now. One of my favorite Bond movies. Murph tells us this date, 1964. Shirley Bassey recorded the song Goldfinger at CTS Studios, London, for the upcoming James Bond movie of the same name. Bob Cordaro back with you on the program as we head towards the Bloomberg Money Minute. Yeah, Jack from Florida texts in. Yeah, Bob, LTS, he says. Your point's well taken. The Democrats have found a way to rebrand their party so that words come out of their mouth in two different directions, and that becomes their platform. And if they're for and against at the same time. Amen. It's unbelievable. And they'll just talk to you as though, all right, so the Democrat Party, well, I don't have time to get in all of it. Just one example, though. The DSA wants to destroy and eliminate the Supreme Court. Democrat Party wants a packet with Democrats. We'll be back. Bacardos tells me it's 9:50. The Supremes. Murph tells us this date, 1966. They were moving up the charts with their hit, You Can't Hurry Love. Bob Cordaro back with you on the program. Somebody thinks, and Bob's so sad to hear about Mr. Barna passing. I enjoyed hearing his story when he was on the show. To think how all those men and women gave their all to keep us free. And now as a slap in the face, screwballs are undoing it all with forced communism. It breaks my heart, says Ginny C. Wish I could get his book. Yeah, I mean, you go on Amazon. He's an amazing guy. But Ginny, you hang in there, all right, honey? We love you. Somebody on the Goldfinger, this was a neat part of the show. This is the movie, rather. I like how they took the 63 Lincoln Town Car and crushed it down to 5x5 black steel. Put it in the back of the Falcon Ranchero. You remembered that through the magic of movies, of course. Yep. Cabinet guy texts in. Times leader today. Cognetti says she got millions for the Scranton police, not Bresnahan. Yeah, she didn't participate in the event. Got $500,000 for the Scranton police. She's a liar. She lies. That's all she does. It's disgusting. By the way, I would have no problem with her personally if she'd tell the truth once. Tell the truth about Rob Bresnahan. Tell the truth about herself and her views and her agenda. But she's a liar, and that's scum. It's disgusting. It's truly revolting. And by the way, I've seen her political retribution for people who oppose her. She's vicious. The contractor whose girlfriend was going to run for mayor, she held up the construction of this Capouse Avenue splash pad, again, eliminating another pool for teenagers to hang around in. She held up this construction for 2 years because she threw out the bids because a political opponent won the bid. Disgraceful. She's a disgraceful human being. She truly is. And I'm telling you, if you accept money from the Soros family, there's something wrong with you. You're an America hater. If you go to a fundraiser and accept money from this scumbag Goldman down in Ballackinwood, whose sole cause and ambition in life is to mutilate children who are experiencing gender dysphoria, there's something wrong with you. This is not a normal human being, Paige Cognetti. She's not normal, and do not normalize her. That's why she could tell all the lies she tells without any qualms. Zero qualms about lying constantly. About deceiving you regarding her agenda. Lying about accomplishments that didn't occur and that she had nothing to do with. Extra funding for the Scranton police. She hates the police. She wants to defund the police. We played the clip of her. She literally wants the police to have no weapons. She doesn't think the cops should have guns. This is the insanity we've descended into. Now, look, just quickly. All right, so we talked about the Supreme Court. So the Democrat Party, this is their agenda, is to pack the Supreme Court with left-wing non-judges, more Ketanji Brown Jacksons, who are mindless idiots, number one. Number two, get rid of the Senate. Well, the DSA wants to get rid of the Senate. The Democrats want to pack the Senate by making Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. states and giving them 4 Democrat senators. So they want to ruin the Senate and getting rid of the filibuster. They want to ruin the Senate. There is no difference. There's no light between the DSA and today's Democrat Party. None. It's really incredible. But again, it's a party based on lies. And the fact that they're running against these left-stream Democrats, because there's no mainstream Democrats, not one. And that includes Lurch. He talks a good game, but he votes with them. Bottom line is this, and you'd rather have a beer with him than certainly Chuck Schumer. How do you not throw up by being in Chuck Schumer's presence? I don't know. But you'd like to hang around with our Senator Fetterman. But he's a left-winger. There is no daylight between the Democrat Socialist America and the Democrat Party. It is the Democrat Party. All right, 10 o'clock on my Picardo's watch. That means it's time for the news with Brian Hughes. We're going to talk a little bit about the Lindsay Clancy trial, but let's do all of this after the news. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. We will never back down. Great good morning, everyone. 10:09 a.m. on this on my beautiful Picardo Jewelers watch on this great Thursday, August 20th, year of our Lord 2026 here in the great Northeast. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and honor, with the help of our man John Basiliga and his great Basiliga hospitality group, the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like Freeland's Joe Barna, Korean combat veteran, frequent guest on this show, as well as the Bob Cordaro Show on TV, a great man that we lost this week. So with history, our amazing founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order today's meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that our deep and unalterable commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity to all of you who hearken here. And remember that the Bob Cordaro Show, in addition to enjoyment, fun, laughter, and information, we are your proven cure for idiocy. Take your medicine. The Bob Cordaro Show, you will no longer be an idiot if you listen. I mean, we've got so many friggin' idiots, it's off the charts. The Democrat Party's taken over, controlled completely by idiots. Paige Cognetti, God almighty. Not only does somebody text in, not only does she want cops to not have guns, she also wants law-abiding citizens to not have guns. You know what that means? Only criminals will have guns. She wants you and the police to be defenseless against criminals. Insanity. And by the way, these are not my words. This is not an interpretation. It's what she said. Somebody said, Bob, I heard a great statement the other day. Teach your kids how to change their oil, not their gender. Yep. That's nuts. Well, we've been doing the Revolutionary War with our man Rick Bigelow. And it had to be broken up into parts because it is the essential history in America. And we've got Rick Bigelow on today. And now, to give us sort of our fifth piece of this revolutionary battle and these revolutionary war that brought us this great country, Rick Bigelow, welcome back to the Bob Cordaro Show. How are you, my man?
Doing fine. How about you, Bob?
Doing great. I'm sad about losing our guy, Joe Barna, but other than that, everything is peachy keen, you know?
Yeah, but Bob, I don't know if you ever watched the movie The Bridges at Toko Ri.
No.
It's about naval aviators during the Korean War. And right at the end of the movie, the three naval aviators, two chopper guys and a fighter pilot are killed. And the admiral, right at the end of the movie, says, "Where do we get such men?" And I think that's appropriate for Joe.
Yes.
And he gets a Bravo Zulu and a Semper Fi from me.
Amen. Thank you so much, Rick. Appreciate that. All right. Well, it's hard to go from that back to the more academic study of a reality that was harsh, Rick Bigelow. This was brutal war, brutal fighting, brutal conditions, and really an outnumbered and outgunned military in the colonial forces.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, if they say back then, life was hard, it was harsh, and it was short.
Yeah.
and you know, a lot of these guys marched hundreds of miles with no shoes. It's just incredible.
I can't walk across the kitchen floor with bare feet. Dear Lord.
Yeah. So anyway, let's pick it up. I think we wound up last time talking about the Battle of Monmouth, which was the last major battle in the North. And After that, the British retreated into New York, and they had left Philadelphia, so the Continental Congress moved back. And at this point in time, Washington names Benedict Arnold to be the military governor of Philadelphia. So when Arnold's there, he meets Peggy Shippen, who's a daughter of a wealthy Philadelphia judge and from a loyalist family. Peggy had been friends with British Major John Andre, who recently left Philadelphia with the British Army. So Arnold, at this point in time, is getting really tired of receiving wounds, doing a great job in battle, and not getting any credit for it. So after the Battle of Saratoga, he was seriously wounded. Took him months to recover. So he goes to Philadelphia as the military governor, and the first thing that happens is he's charged with corruption by the head of the Pennsylvania legislature. So by this point in time, Benedict Arnold's had about enough. He and his wife conjure a plan to get him into West Point, and he will take charge of the facility there and let the British come in and take over. So Washington wants him to be a combat commander again because he'd done so well, but he said, no, I can't do it. Send me to West Point and I'll be in charge of the facility there. So he does that.
And that ironically was called Fort Arnold.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, named after him. And he had been just an exemplary officer in general, but he's getting pretty tired of all the credit going to other people. So basically he sells out to the British. He gives John Andre plans. Major Andre is captured by militia. They find the plans for West Point in his boot, and he is hanged on the spot, and they're coming after Arnold. Arnold retreats to New York and becomes a brigadier general in the British Army, and he successfully leads British troops in small engagements in Connecticut and Rhode Island. In fact, he basically goes to New London, Connecticut, which is just very close to where he was born and raised, and he basically burns the town to the ground. And ever since that point in time, and it still happens today, citizens of New London take an effigy of Benedict Arnold in a cart and they burn it. So that's a sad end to a guy who had been a terrific officer and a terrific supporter. But going back into after the Battle of Monmouth, now the French start to arrive. Some French volunteers, including Lafayette, had arrived in 1777. In later years, the French start to send some ships with supplies and troops, and they make probes into several cities. But what they're really mainly interested in is taking back some of the Caribbean islands that the British had taken in the French and Indian War. So there's another French fleet that comes in with Admiral Tenay with 5,000 troops under French General Rochambeau that arrive in 1780. At the same time, and they go into Newport, Rhode Island, and they pretty much garrison there. And it had taken them 70 days to get from Brest on the west coast of France to Newport, Rhode Island. So you get 70 days to cross the ocean. So they needed to reconstitute their troops. At the same time, Spain enters the war on the side of the French, and all of a sudden, it's a global war. The British are no longer putting down an insurrection in the colonies in North America. It's a global war. So things are going from bad to worse. So the British really need some wins, and they decide they're not going to do anything further in the north, and they decide on a southern strategy. So they attack Charleston, South Carolina, with a large fleet and 8,800 troops under General Clinton. They siege Charleston, eventually take it. The British also offer slaves in the plantations in the Carolinas that they will be freed if they come and join the British, and many of them actually did. So the British take Charleston and they start moving northward into rural South Carolina, what's called upstate South Carolina today, and then finally into North Carolina. So in a series of battles there, Banastre Tarleton establishes himself as a ruthless conqueror, and he gets a reputation for no quarter if he captures troops and so on and so forth. There are a lot more loyalists in the South than there were in the North, and actually a lot of the patriots and the loyalists clash, and it starts to look more like a civil war in the South than a war against a rebellion.
And Rick, Rick Bigelow, that's a factor that people don't think about often. They think of a unified country going against the British, but this was quite ununified colonies fighting against the British.
Absolutely.
It's remarkable.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only that, but there were the Indian tribes too, and of course, what the Indian tribes saw was the westward movement of European settlers. So there were all kinds, like they say, there were many degrees of freedom in this battle for American independence.
Yeah. So
the British move into upstate South Carolina and into North Carolina. The colonies only had limited troops. Washington was only able to send about 1,400 troops. They were augmented by militia on occasion. Finally, there was one major battle in South Carolina at Cowpens, where General Daniel Morgan's forces defeated Tarleton. Interesting fact about General Daniel Morgan: he was like Arnold in all the major battles up in the north. He played a significant role in the French and Indian War. He had been, I'm not sure if he was part of the Virginia militia, but he actually was accused of assaulting an officer, and with typical British punishment, he was given 500 lashes, which is generally a death sentence.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He survived it. So he didn't have any warm feelings for the British, to say the least. Finally, in March of 1781, a huge French fleet leaves for America. They initially go into the Caribbean to protect their assets there, and then they turn north into the Chesapeake Bay. And in a 4-day naval battle, the French fleet drives off the British fleet at the Battle of the Capes and sails into the Chesapeake. At the same time, the American forces, the colonial forces, are retreating from the British, and Cornwallis is pursuing them as far as he can, as quickly as he can, and he eventually establishes an encampment at Yorktown, Virginia. He expects that there's going to be a British fleet with more troops coming from New York, but they don't get there in time. And so in 1781, Washington's forces, Lafayette's forces, and French General Rochambeau's forces all meet at Yorktown and basically have a huge advantage over the British there. They have a siege of the British encampment at Yorktown, and eventually the British under Cornwallis are forced to surrender.
Amazing.
Basically, that's the end of the Revolutionary War. Back in England, the war is becoming less and less popular. Finally, the British Crown, or the British Parliament, stops funding the war and demands that the British get out of the Revolutionary War. So negotiations for a peace treaty begin in Paris in 1782, and in 1783, the Treaty of Paris is signed, and the British leave North America.
Amazing.
The Revolutionary War is over.
Quite amazing. Rick, and thank you for condensing it for us. We appreciate it. And I'm still, you get really taken with how amazing these people were and how outgunned they were, and yet they won.
Yeah. And frankly, I think it would have been tough for them to win if the French hadn't become
Certainly.
involved. And the amazing thing is, within about 20 years, the French had their own revolution, and all the French diplomats and the kings and queens who'd helped the Americans were executed. It's just amazing.
Yeah, and when people compare the French Revolution to ours, I say no. The French Revolution is what we're experiencing with our communists today. That's more akin to that. Rick Bigelow, thank you as always. We appreciate it, and I look forward to your next appearance for another historical marker. Great to have you on twice this week.
Glad to do it, Bob.
All right, Rick Bigelow, the Revolutionary War, it has been won. We'll be back on the Bob Cordaro Show. I love that song. It's not only a great song, but it's about a roller coaster. The Beatles together at Abbey Road Studios in London for the last time, completing the recording August 20th, 1969. Bob Cordaro back with you. And, that entire inspiration, the big inspiration for Charlie Manson and his sickos to murder, maim, and bring about the end of the world was about a roller coaster. Yeah, well, that tells you pretty much the deal. Let's go to John from Scranton, who's been very patient. My man, John, how are you?
Good, Bob. How are you?
Great.
Hey, I hate to be that guy, but the Helter Skelter was actually just a slide. You go down the bottom, and then you climb back up to the top.
Oh, I thought it was a roller coaster, I was told, or read.
Oh, no, sir. I'll send you a picture of the real Helter Skelter, sir. You're on point, though. You go up and down. It's the same thing, man. Have fun going up real slow because you're going to go down real fast.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That is great. Now, you got to send it to my email because it doesn't work by this text that we have here. I only get messages that way. All right. I'd love it. I'd love it, John. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I just had a comment about Miss Paige Cognetti, Mrs. Paige Cognetti. I should be more apropos. Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, she says she's a bleeding heart Democrat, and she loves all these all the problems that she's creating around town. Yet, there was a couple halfway houses right next, too close, I guess, to her royal residency that she has in Scranton. She didn't like it, so now she shut that place down, and now all of her criminal friends have no place to go except maybe on the street. So thanks, Miss Page.
The phoniness, the hypocrisy, John, it's off the charts, and you and I live in Scranton and have to deal with her worrying about her left-wing lunatic agenda, and her congressional race could give one spit about the city of Scranton. We play the quote. She's in Rob Bresnahan's commercial. She moved to Scranton for politics, to run for office. Unbelievable.
That's it. It's all about the dollar. And you know what? She's not actually worried about Scranton. She's worried that her agenda is going to get caught before it's implemented. And it is, because we all see you're trash.
Amen.
We're not going to play this game anymore around here. We're sick of it. The city needs to be cleaned up, and we need a mayor in there that has knowledge that's going to do something about it. There was a gentleman, a war vet, and everything else like that, and he was trying to get in there, and I hope he tries again, because we need someone like that.
John, I was telling people, they've said, well, a lot, and people are saying this, most of them kidding, that we've got to vote for Congress to get her out of Scranton. Well, the truth is, number one, she's going to resign as mayor as soon as she loses to Rob Bresnahan, because this is not where she wants to be, and she proves it every day.
She has egg on her face, sir.
We'll be rid of her sooner or later. Thank you, John. Always a pleasure, man. And thanks about the Helter Skelter.
Oh, yeah, no, one more thing, though, sir. I just wanted to let you know, Alex Picardo, he's a good friend of mine, right?
Good man.
I went in there for a Rolex, though. He didn't have any. So just if you need a Rolex, why don't you come down to Carlos Jewelry Exchange and we'll drip you out, sir?
No, I don't. I've got my Picardo's watch. I'm a pig in spit with it.
Okay, well, we're on Main Street. Hey, and I want to just say real quick, happy birthday to my girl, Eliana. And hey, man, we'll be in touch, sir. I'll call you and we'll talk later.
All right, my friend. Thank you, John. Appreciate it, man. 10:34 on my Picardo Jewelers watch. That means we've got to hear from our great sponsors. We'll come back. We've got another Veterans Tribute, and that tribute is to our man, the late, great Joe Barna. We'll be back with that tribute and Vince Sardo after this. our Veterans Tribute. This hour as with every hour, this day as with every day. Brought to you by our man John Basiliga and his great Basiliga Hospitality Group. We talked about the bar, restaurants, casual dining, and Coney Island lunch coming soon. But fine dining is on the menu with Basiliga Hospitality. The great Stegmaier Mansion in downtown Wilkes-Barre, the Mary Stegmaier Mansion. I'm telling you, it's an exquisite experience. Exquisite. And they've got affordable options and happy hour in their great bar right on site. And then a Terra 519, a modern take, low-key New York City, I call it, and one of the most beautiful restaurants you'll ever experience. A Terra 519, new menu, new chef, new affordable options. Chef Alex Diaz really making that place even better. A Terra 519. Joe Barna, our veteran, whom we're paying tribute today. We lost him at age 96 this week. And a friend of mine who became acquainted with our man Joe Barna is Vince Sardo, who made him part of one of his books. And he's with us now. Vince, how are you, man?
Good, Bob. How you doing this morning?
Talk to me about Joe Barna. You discovered him and talked to him and made him part of your writings, and he's a guy that you truly admired.
Yeah, he really is. And, it's all thanks to you too, Bob. You're the one that, when I was writing my books, I was looking for a war hero to, add a story to the book about, overcoming adversity and, trials and things like that. And you had recommended Joe. And, throughout the process back to 2024, when I interviewed Joe, we became really good friends. And even when I was traveling around the world, Joe would reach out to me. His thing was, once you become my friend, you're always my friend.
Yeah.
And me and Joe became very close, and it was really, punch in the gut. I was so happy that I got to go see him a couple weeks ago and spend the day with him and Frank Ballin, who, was his best friend and caretaker. I mean, Frank is, did so much for Joe, and, he should be, appreciated for, his friendship to Joe, and Joe, I know, valued him very much as well. So,
Vince Sardo, tell me, your book is called what, for people who might be looking for it?
Yeah, so the old book, it's 2 years old, is Legs on a Table. It's the 4 pathways to transform dreams into reality, and that was released on my daughter's birthday, August 21st of 2024. The new book was released on my son's birthday, June 9th of this year, and it's called Kick the Door In. It's the 5 proven pathways to living your dream.
Neat.
And a lot of the original 16 or 18 stories, 16 of them are carried over into the new book, but then, we interviewed people from all over the world, from Scotland and from UK and from Spain and from Thailand, and just great stories of success, and what it takes to be a winner.
And tell us about the Joe Barna portion of these books. What was the key takeaway in your time with Joe Barna?
Well, if anybody's looking for a great read and wants to get to know Joe, I mean, he wrote a book. It was a gold award-winning book, actually, and he won 5 gold medals writing books for the VA. And his book is called God Made Angels and Navy Corpsmen, and it's about his friend Jackie Kilmore, who was in a foxhole with him for like 5 months. And Joe was, injured in combat, bayoneted, left for dead, and Jackie went out and found him and saved his life. And then Jackie ended up saving a couple of Marines, but he lost his life in the process and won the Congressional Medal of Honor. And, that story really hit me hard, that here this guy saves Joe's life, and then he loses his life saving others as a corpsman. And, and Joe had the utmost respect for him. He went to Texas many times to be with Jackie's family and visit his grave. And, it still bothered him. I mean, you could see years and years later at 96 years old, the impact that it had on Joe. But in his book, if you wanted to get to know Joe as a person, he writes about how he met his wife and just great stories, how he was a great baseball player down in the Freeland area. So, Joe was just a great guy, and it's a tremendous loss to our community for sure.
We were fortunate to know him. Vince Sardo, thank you so much. I appreciate it, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Bob.
All right. Joe Barna being honored here today, each hour. AccuWeather forecast brought to you by our gang at Montage Mountain Resort, the water park in full swing. Check out Montage. Check out their website. They've got amazing specials for the end of the summer, so you can enjoy that water park on these waning summer days. I hate to even say that, but they are. Today, they tell you it's not as warm but humid. Periods of rain and a thunderstorm beginning in the late morning. High 74. Tonight, clear, low of 56. Tomorrow, partly sunny and warmer. High 82, low 62. Saturday, not as warm but pleasant with intervals of clouds and sunshine. High 74, low 64. Sunday, mostly cloudy, humid, couple of showers and a thunderstorm. High 80, low 55. Monday, mostly sunny, pleasant, less humid. High 77, low 53. And it's always a great day for the water park at Montage, where it's 71 degrees right now. Bob Dylan, Murph tells us this date, 1979. He released one of his best albums of his career with Slow Train Coming. Murph picked Gotta Serve Somebody from that album. And we're joined by our congressman, Dan Muser. Congressman, how are you? And thank you for your patience.
Bob?
Yes, we have you, my friend. We have you.
Hey, great. Hey, thanks for taking my call. I always appreciate it. I listened to you speak about our local hero and then some, Joe Barna, and I just wanted to call in and
thank you.
offer my condolences to you, to the community. Like you, I've known Joe for, I don't know, somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 15 years, and he couldn't have been more kind and generous. When you show up, he just looks after you, ask you questions. I'm always thinking about you, not himself. And you can't help but think that at every event I was with him, at Memorial Days, Veterans Days, he was just in charge. He was just a natural-born leader.
Dan Muser's our guest talking about Joe Barna. Yesterday, when I heard of his passing, Frank Balin had texted me. I immediately found your clip speaking about him and saluting him on the House floor and played it. It was touching.
Oh, wow. That's great. Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, it's amazing the local heroes that we have, and I think it's just tremendous how you expose that and remind everyone of just some of these, everyday guys that are really just simply local heroes. I mean, Joe had 2 Purple Hearts, did all the VA work. I was listening to the interview you just had with him before. He helped so many lives. He was a great writer. I mean, he wrote some great books. And the following he had, a good friend of mine, Eric Olson, if you remember, he and Tiffany Cloud, they moved away from the area, but Eric Olson ran that Warrior Summit outdoor show, and Tiffany was a big community leader herself. But anyway, they were really close with him, and they informed me of Joe's passing, I think, about a day and a half ago, and it's just very sad. And I'll say though that there are other local heroes. Like last night, I had dinner with Tom Munley. Judge Tom Munley.
One of the best. Yeah.
I mean, one of the best. I mean, Bronze Star, 11 months in Vietnam. I mean, just, serving, still serving to this day.
And a veteran, Tommy Munley. And that's what Joe Barna was, a veteran's veteran. He cared about them. Yeah. He continually publicized their ordeals and what they had to deal with, and right to going to every funeral as part of the honor guard.
No question. And that's why in Congress it's an honor to serve those who have served. And you think about it every day. Unfortunately, it's relatively biased. Not always, surprisingly, but it's relative. They have they meaning the left, the Socialist Democrats, whatever they call themselves today, have different ideas for these things. But we do get some bipartisan support. There's also this local gentleman, I think Bob Graham, whom received the Silver Star in Vietnam, and we're actually working on. I don't want to jinx it, if you will, but he's very deserving of the Congressional Medal of Honor. So many of us, myself, Rob Bresnahan, McCormick, we're all working to make it clear of the deserving nature of Colonel Graham to receive that. So that's something big too. We had the speaker in yesterday.
Yes.
I heard you mention the Stegmeyer Mansion, and the food was pretty good. We just had little appetizers and that sort of thing. But we had all the police with us, and I heard you speaking a little bit earlier about the treatment and in general by the Socialist Democrats. And it's appalling. It's just simply appalling. My father was a police officer. I mean, the thin blue line is the difference between civil and uncivil, crime and safety. And there's nothing more important than public safety. And when their colleagues, denounce the police in the manner that they do, and they never denounce that, I mean, silence is complicity. But we were there talking the truth about Rob Bresnahan. Meanwhile, you got that mayor of Scranton stating lies about Bresnahan.
Constantly.
So, my saying is that we'll keep telling the truth if she keeps telling lies, or better yet, we'll stop telling the truth about Paige Cognetti if she stops telling lies about Rob Bresnahan.
Yeah.
But the fact is we got to get real. We have a lot of national security issues in our country. We clearly have to keep the public safety at a high level, and we can't be playing games or having political purposes behind doing what is right and strengthening our country. And that's probably the biggest difference that's going to go into these midterms. We're on one side of strengthening our country, and in return, I see them doing nothing but being destructive critics, not constructive critics, and truly weakening our country along the way.
You are so right. And Congressman Dan Muser, so happy you called in about Joe Barna. I appreciate it. And again, I was very proud of you that you had acknowledged him on the House floor.
God bless you. God bless Joe Barna. God bless all our veterans. And thank you for your service.
All right. Thank you, our Congressman, Dan Muser. Appreciate it so much. Hey, let's get one more call in right before the top of the hour. Ed from Berwick has been beyond patient. How are you, Ed?
Hey, Roberto.
How are you?
A little bit off topic. This Bigelow guy, boy, is he good.
Isn't he? Amazing. Amazing.
LTS to him, too. And I listen to your show, not because you agree with me. I don't want to hear everybody say, yeah, Ed, you're right, you're right. I listen to liberals. I'm listening to what they got to sell. So far, it's no sell.
Amen. You had called about the added $1 trillion in debt because we only got about a few seconds. Fire away.
A few seconds. Trump reached $1 trillion in 500 days. Biden was reaching $1 trillion every 100 days repeatedly in his term.
Yes.
Not one word.
One of Donald Trump's faults is, as a business guy and as a president, he's really a sucker for cheap debt. He loves to.
Okay,
if you give him cheap money, he borrows it.
Your station, not one word from Schlapelder or Gulopet on the morning show criticizing Biden, but I imagine they're all over Trump about this.
Guaranteed.
Every 100 days, another trillion. Not a word. So, before I leave, I must say, Paige Cognetti, give her a break. She needs an oil change. I just left. Goodbye.
Yeah. It was nice of Congressman Muser to call in to talk about his friend Joe Barna, our friend Joe Barna. A big deal, a big loss for the community because he was a spokesman and a fighter for all veterans, and he exemplified the courage and the bravery of that group that is just so awesome. 11 o'clock on my Ricardo Jewelers Watch. Time for the news with Brian Hughes, and then we'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. You know it, baby. It does. Great good morning, everyone. 11:07 a.m. on my Picardo Jewelers watch. This beautiful Thursday, August 20, year of our Lord 2026, here in the great Northeast. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and honor, with the help of our man John Basiliga and his great Basiliga Hospitality Group, the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like Joe Barna, the Korean War combat veteran we lost this week, but celebrate today, thanks to John. So with history, our amazing founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling to order today's meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that our deep and unalterable commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity for all of you who hearken here. And we remind you, the Bob Cordaro Show, and it wasn't done through extensive studies, but we discovered that the Bob Cordaro Show is your proven cure for idiocy. It is. So if you're being a left-wing idiot, if you're being a Democrat voter, we can cure you, I promise. And we want to. We love you. So, Joe Barna, amazing man. And I mean, you say, well, he was 96, but lost to us too soon. Lost to us too soon. So we talk about idiocy and the program being the cure for idiocy. This is why I love hanging around with this audience every day. Somebody texted in. I wish they had said who it was, but they texted this in. And it's something I never thought about. We talked about the difference between the Democrat Party and the DSA, the socialist, the communist. And I tell you, there is no daylight between them. The communists want to get rid of the Supreme Court. And the Democrats want to pack the Supreme Court. And I never thought about this before. They want 12 Supreme Court justices or some number like that. But one of our listeners pointed this out so perfectly. I love how the Democrats drone on and on about expanding the Supreme Court in the name of saving democracy. If that's the case, why don't they advocate doing it right now? Exactamundo. And the listener continues, because nothing to do with democracy. It has everything to do with power. I never even thought of it that way. Expand the Supreme Court. Well, okay. What if Trump says, all right, let's do it? The Republican Senate and House says, all right, why not? And then the appointments for the additions to the Supreme Court are Republican appointments, conservative appointments. Thank you for that. I wish I knew who it was. But I'll call you for now, the first three letters of your number. I'll call you 780. Thank you, 780. Perfect. You nailed it. Amazing. Good morning, Bob. Charles from Scott Township. He says the best part of that song, and he was talking about Helter Skelter, on the end when John Lennon yells out, I have blisters on my fingers. Yes. Somebody else takes it. Bob, thank you for your historical segments on American history. Love listening to experts on historical topics, learning facts now that I should have learned in grade school. These curriculums are either not being taught or glossed over poorly. I must tell you, I know I did do a lot of extra reading, grade school and high school. I remember at least the outline of what Rick Bigelow brought to us in his 5-part series on the Revolutionary War. There was some good education going on in the 60s and early 70s. You just may be younger than me. But you're right. It has fallen apart. When they start worrying about self-esteem of the students instead of teaching them. It's ridiculous. Dear friend of mine to this day, my 8th grade teacher, Attorney John Tarana. We learn things. We learned from him, and he taught us virtually every class at St. Anthony's grade school, my 8th grade. We learned things that we would use not only for the rest of our education, we learned things that made the difference and that we recalled the rest of our lives. So I've got to tell you, I was blessed with a great education at St. Anthony's grade school and Dunmore High School. We had an amazing social studies department. George Patrick, Mr. Kelly. We had great teaching. Great science, too, of course, at Dunmore. But still, Anyway. So, somebody texting in about MK Ultra, and I don't know what you're talking. You're going to have to specify it before I get into it. Somebody else texting in helpfully, Bob, Mr. Joe Barna's book at Amazon is Kindle only. I was able to purchase online at Walmart. Just an FYI. Thank you, Bob, from Warrior Run. I appreciate that. So you could go, I guess, online with Walmart and find Joe's book because it is great. And it's a big deal. Somebody texts in, speaking of vaccines the other day on the radio show that comes on after Rob's commercial, they were talking about how it came out that the second shot, corona shot, put pregnant women at high risk for miscarriages. And the government and the experts knew it and pushed it anyway. How are we supposed to come back from that? You are right. We've been deceived. And that's Fauci's a criminal. He's a criminal. Now, somebody texting in about Tom Williams on WBRE. On the WBRE News this morning, they showed the press conference with Bresnahan and Mike Johnson. After that, Tom Williams quasi-fact-checked about how much Mayor Paige Cognetti gave to the police. She didn't give them anything. She didn't give them anything. Bresnahan gave them the money. She wants the cops to not have guns. And, by the way, you as well. So guess who will only have the guns, as one of our great listeners pointed out? The criminals, in Paige Cognetti's word. That's what they want. It's their agenda. What do you think that Soros gang and family gives her the max contributions? Because she's a left-wing lunatic. So shame on Tom Williams. Editorializing. I don't get it. I don't get it. And I like Tom. But you're wrong. And you're falling for lies. Shame on you as a journalist. Shame. All right. Let's go to the blower. We got our man Luciano. He's calling in from Wilkes-Barre Township. How are you, Luciano?
Yeah, Bob, thank you for taking my call. I'm just going to keep it real. I applaud that gentleman. Unfortunately, he served 4 years in jail, and he's a true Christian. He's not kissing up to these
Now, who's that?
These Muslims in Dearborn, Michigan, that big conflict between Christians, Judeo-Christians, and the Muslim Islamic invasion. They're taking over Dearborn, Michigan, that city,
yes.
And they're protesting them harshly. They're not giving in to those Islamic. They're not being intimidated. They're speaking their mind. And that gentleman, the leader, they call him a leader. He doesn't like to be called a leader. He served 4 years in jail, unfortunately, for what happened, with that White House.
Not familiar with the situation, but go ahead.
Yes, but he did serve 4 years, and he got a pardon by Donald Trump. Thank the good Lord.
Doesn't make him a bad guy.
No,
time in prison
I'm on your
doesn't
side,
make him a bad guy.
No.
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Jesus Jesus spent some time in prison. If you read the Bible, you read the Catholic Bible, you read King James, you read New England, he served prison. So did all the apostles serve prison and jail, except for that traitor. But yeah, they served prison time. So just let me say this: we need to have people like that, politicians that don't give in, that are wishy-washy, that are strong and principled American citizens. Because Bob, like I've unfortunately heard, there's over 1,000 mosques in this country already that already exist throughout the United States. Over 1,000, and
the leaders of many of those mosques support Sharia law, which is in direct contravention to our Constitution and our way of life. Those are the facts. Like, that's it. There's no like, oh, well, maybe. No, they cannot coexist. Sharia law cannot coexist with our Constitution. And some of the left-wing lunatic idiots who are supporting the growth of Muslim, and I don't want to say Muslim because that's actually a misnomer, Islamist fanatics for public office and elsewhere are actually rooting for this country's demise. And their own, by the way. They're too stupid to know any better.
And I tell you who else is in bed with this Islamic radical anti-American is the illegal immigration party of the Soros. Soros controls Telemundo and Univision. People are not aware that he owns 80% of Telemundo and Univision, and so he's throwing a lot of that anti-American principles. Just let me say this, Bob.
And by the way, guess who he supports? And his family supports Paige Cognetti because they know her agenda will bring about the destruction of the United States.
And pray for this country. And let me end this by saying this. In the Bible, over 50 times it states that Jesus speaks about Lucifer, Satan, the devil. That's evil. That's mentioned in the Bible. But people only talk about Jesus and Christ and the apostles. But Lucifer is the prince of this world. Jesus spoke about it in the New Testament and Old Testament. Lucifer, which is another name for Satan. And we have demonic principles, demonic human beings in this country trying to overthrow Christian principles that Jesus set forth.
Yep.
Thank you, Bob.
You got it, man. Thank you, Luciano.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. And on that note, we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We will return. Men at Work. Murph tells us August 20th, 1983, they moved to number 6 with their hit, It's a Mistake. They must have been talking about the Democrats, socialists taking over the party. But again, I got to keep repeating. They already have. Give me the daylight between Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, and the communists. Give me the daylight. And as one of our great listeners pointed out, they want to destroy the Supreme Court either way. They don't want Donald Trump to appoint these extra Supreme Court justices. They want to destroy it. Oh, by the way, somebody texted in, blisters on my fingers. It wasn't John Lennon. They say it was Ringo. So we got a little question there. Now, Lawnmower Guy from Moscow, formerly of Dunmore, I didn't get your message, but I did get that you texted in. Oh, Lord. Anyway, somebody says Tom Williams is like Ron Burgundy on Anchorman. He will read anything. Yeah. Cabinet Guy says only the gangbangers that were in the photo with Paige Cognetti will have guns. Yeah. Remember this, the grand opening? It's insane. I'm telling you, there's something wrong with Paige Cognetti. There's something seriously wrong. If your perception is that off from what is fact, truth, and reality, that you'll post for pictures with drug dealers, gangbangers who are opening a business in Scranton as a front, as a money laundering organization. And you have the police to tell you this, and you're still doing it. I mean, you can't even make it up. And I asked about MK Ultra. Somebody says MK Ultra was the CIA program that started after the Cold War because soldiers came home with different attitudes. Then when they left, the CIA was convinced that the soldiers were brainwashed by either Russia or China. So the CIA started a program trying to figure out how they did it. They started dosing people with LSD, most without their consent, to see what kind of horrific stuff they can make people do without the people even knowing what they were doing. It was a bad program, and as a result of it, of recent Charlie Manson and Jack Ruby were apparently part of that experiment. Now, that I've never heard. I'm aware I didn't know MK Ultra but by name, but I'm aware of the program. You know who was part of it? They used prisoners. And our friend from up in Boston, the gangster, Whitey Bulger, was part of it. Didn't turn out too well, did it? Now, somebody texts in apropos of nothing. Jake Lang is a racist. Now, I don't even know who you're talking about. How horrible for you to highlight him. I don't even know who that is. So stop being stupid. Really. I mean, freedom of religion is a thing. How disgusting. I don't care what religion you practice. I have nothing wrong with the Muslim religion. In fact, tremendous exposure to it in prison. And it can be a beautiful religion. But the politicians who are running are Islamists. Do you understand the difference? Or are you going to be stupid? Please tell me. Sharia law, which is the law under which the Muslim religion, the Islamists, govern, is incompatible with the Constitution. It's incompatible with freedom for anyone, not just women. It's incompatible with the American way of life, period. So I don't know who Jake Lang is, but there's the fact. This is what these left-wing idiots do. They changed the subject. They changed the subject. So they'll attack whoever this guy is, instead of facing the facts and arguing the facts. You can't argue with that fact. Sharia law, which is the Muslim guide, the imposition of Sharia law is incompatible with our freedoms and our Constitution. Period. End of sentence. There's not even a discussion about it. So what the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about? You're worried about some guy, I don't know, even know his name. And that's the point you bring out, and you're saying I highlighted him? I don't even know his name, dummy. And by the way, I figured this out. Somebody takes it. Jake Lang is the leader of the Islamist resistance to the Islamist takeover of these cities in Michigan. I deciphered that. But do you see what somebody will do that's on the left that desperately, idiotically wants to support communism, wants to support the Communist Democrat Party? Oh, well, freedom of religion. I don't care what religion you have. What the hell do I care? You can be as wrong as you want to be. They're trying to impose Sharia law in Michigan. And you don't think that requires resistance? It requires it for anyone who cares about the Constitution, their own personal freedoms, and the American way of life. Sharia law is not compatible with American values, American way of life, period. And by the way, they know it. But they think stupid people like you will go along with them to prove how compassionate you are. God, frightening, frightening, frightening. And by the way, I may be reading a lot more into what you're saying because it's a text, but I'm using it to launch the discussion. And if you believe that their freedom of religion, which to them, the Islamists, not normal everyday Muslims, Islamists, is to impose a way of life on you, then you're stupid. So you better keep listening, because we're the proven cure for idiocy right here on this show. Please keep listening and absorb this fact. Absorb this fact. Sharia law that the Islamists pursue and want to impose is, in fact, contradictorily and incompatible and cannot be pursued under our Constitution and the American way of life. And it does not contemplate freedom at all, including religious freedom. You're worried about some guy who's resisting the Muslim takeover of Michigan because I don't know anything about him, so I'm not even going to talk about him. You're worried about him when your religious freedom is going to be taken away by the people you're fighting to protect their religion. Stupid. Frightening. Wow. We'll take a break. We'll be back. our Veterans Tribute. This hour as with every hour, and this day with every day. As we salute the late, great Joe Barna, is brought to you by John Basiliga. Loyally, patriotically, dutifully. And the Basiliga Hospitality Group is what we feature today as we head into the weekend. Sergei's, the nightclub. They're open tonight, no cover. And I'm telling you, I go there. I don't stay late. I stay till maybe 10, and I have a blast. It's just a happening place. Sergei's, the nightclub, right underneath the fabulous Atera 519 with new chef Alex Diaz. 3 bar restaurants to hang out in as we approach football season. The best places to watch the games, including when the baseball playoffs come. The Old Brook Inn on 307 in Springbrook Township. The Far Street Tavern on Far Street in the Great Trips Park section of West Scranton. The Queen City Tavern on the main drag in downtown Oliphant. And coming soon, Coney Island Lunch, the reimagined tradition on Lackawanna Avenue, downtown Scranton, accompanied by Reagan's Ice Cream Shop, named after John's daughter. I'm looking forward to that one. Opening soon. Well, our great friend Joe Barna, we lost him this week, but we had so many chances to talk to him in the last few years here on the radio and on TV. Joe Barna on our program, and Frank Balin, his dear friend, and the man who introduced me to Joe Barna, is with us with some additional memories of our man Joe Barna, the veteran we salute today.
Hey, Bob.
Talk to me, Frank Balin.
Bob, thank you for having me on again. And back at 9:30, I relayed a story about Joe playing baseball and meeting his wife. If I could follow up another baseball story, again, his wife is involved. Now, that first story, Joe was 16 and she was 13. Now, Joe is recently back from Korea, and he immediately started playing ball again in like the organized men's baseball league. So now he's 22 or 23, I guess 23, and he's pitching against the Weatherly team. And then his wife worked in a plant in Weatherly. Like it was, I believe Tunxall might have been the name, but doesn't matter. A plant in Weatherly. And Joe's on the mound, and batter comes up, and the guys in the Weatherly dugout yell to this guy, "Hey, Johnny, there's your competition." And Joe had heard from his brothers that there was one of the foremen were trying to hit on Joe's girl, and it was him at the plate. And Joe said, "I wound up. I gave him my best fastball right in the middle of his ribs. And he went down like a sack of potatoes." And then he said the next time this guy came up, he said he was so far off the plate, like he was. If people understand baseball, he could barely reach the plate with his bat. Joe said.
Oh Lord, that is just great. I mean, and let me say this, as nice as Joe is, and Joe was, he was tough, not only for combat in Korea, but like that carries over. And I love that. That's like Bob Gibson stuff,
Yes, it is. Yep. He said, right, I gave him my best fastball right in the ribs.
Frank, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it, man. We couldn't have honored him without you.
Oh, thank you so much, Bob, for having me again. And again, what an honor to have met you, and I hope we remain friends.
Amen.
And I know we will.
We will, Frank. Don't you worry. Thank you so much.
Take care, sir.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Oh, well, that's the sound that tells us the weather is afoot. And the AccuWeather forecast brought to you by the great gang at Montage. Well, Montage has the water park. It's not just skiing. And they've got amazing specials for the rest of the summer as it wanes. And I hate to even say it is, but there's a lot of water park days left. Get up to Montage. Today, not as warm but humid. Periods of rain. Thunderstorm beginning in the late morning, high 74. Tonight, clear, low 56. Tomorrow, partly sunny and warmer, high 82, low 62. Saturday, not as warm but pleasant, with intervals of clouds and sunshine, high 74, low 64. Sunday, mostly cloudy and humid, with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, high 80, low 55. Monday, mostly sunny, pleasant, less humid, high 77, low 53. And that's your weather, brought to you by the great gang at Montage Mountain Resort. Thanks, Gerard. And thanks, Frank, who's on a bar stool in Noumea, New Caledonia, telling Joe, he's got problems. I get it. Somebody says, after all the sacrifices in the Korean War, now Trump is selling out to the North Koreans. I don't know what you're talking about. The South Korean government right now, they've gone left-wing. You probably don't, well, you wouldn't know that depending on your news source. They've gone left-wing, and they are not supportive of even having our troops in that country, never mind. And on top of that, they didn't cooperate at all with the Iranian conflict. So he's telling them, here's the way it's going to be. He's not selling out to the North Koreans. Crazy stuff. Somebody texts in, Bob, I just passed through the little coal mining town of Shepton, southwest of Hazleton. They had the hometown banners up, even in that little town, about 50 of them. By the way, we just passed the anniversary of the Shepton mine disaster. Just to remind you, Shadow Steel had told me about that. Anyway, they continue, the listener. All of them fine young men and women in uniform or BDUs, not one mindless politician among them. Yeah, I know. It's crazy stuff. As we head to the Bloomberg Money Minute, I want to read just for all veterans, not just for Joe, that which is carved into the stone outside of the Bloomsburg American Legion. It says, what is a veteran? A veteran, whether active duty, discharged, retired, or reserve, and I add wartime or peacetime, is someone who at one point in his or her life wrote a blank check made payable to the United States of America for an amount of up to and including his or her life. That is honor. And there are way too many people in this country today who no longer understand that fact. Sweet Panda, my Bacarda's watch tells me we're coming up to 11:50 in the Bloomberg Money Minute. We'll be back after that. This is Soundgarden. Murph tells us this date, 1994. They were moving up the charts with their hit Black Hole Sun. It's not a bad song. Yeah. Okay. Bob Cordaro back with you. Still a few minutes left if you want to call or text Bob Cordaro and the program, 570-883-0098. Our friend John, he emails me. He says, in Waverly Township, Cognetti yard signs outnumber Bresnahan by 2-1. LTS. And a number, well, first of all, she has all the money in the world. Because the left wing and the Soros clowns are lathering her with money. That's number one. Number two, you've got a bunch of these ladies who lunch, who don't have a clue, seriously. They don't have a clue about her agenda. Or conceivably, they're guilty white liberal women who are they just feel guilty about their prosperity and comfort. And so they're supporting communism. But I saw that. I was up in Waverly and saw signs for her. But she's, again, they have the money. And they've got the guilty women. It's insane. These people are stupid. So the good thing for that is you could drive by these houses and say, these people are stupid. And then you'll know. You know, it's like putting a sign up, I'm stupid. You ever see remember the T-shirts, I'm with stupid? Well, that's what those signs basically say. Hey, we didn't, by the way, have a video today on YouTube for some technical problem, but our friends at Roach Supply are still our guys. Roach Supply, the premier bath and kitchen supplier in Northeast Pennsylvania. 75 years in business. Visit roachsupply.com today. That's ROCHE. Or visit Roach Supply in Honesdale or Chapman Supply in South Abington Township, right past the notch. And special thanks to Tina Morocco, Global Sales Advisor at Sotheby's International Realty, Naples, Florida. She is your trusted guide for Florida real estate, specializing in Southwest Florida. And you need to trust somebody with that kind of investment. You could get her at Sotheby's in Naples or go right to the source. Tina Morocco, MURACCO.com. Hopefully we'll be talking to her tomorrow. So as we wind down today, we're finishing with Steve Winwood, because on August 20th, 1988, he had the #1 hit with Roll With It, a great song. Love the song. And that's what we'll finish with on the Bob Cordaro Show. And somebody texted in, thanks for honoring Joe today. Great show remembering him. And it was. He was a good man. He had so much greatness in him, expressed through his writing, expressed through his combat role in Korea, and expressed through his personal appearances, frankly, on this show and my TV show. He was really great. And I enjoyed it. The email address, somebody asking for, Robert.Cordaro, Cordaro, at Odyssey, AUDACY.com. Somebody texted in, well, Paul from Dallas texted in, he says, the Tudeh Party of Iran and the Fadai guerrillas, they were communist allies of Islam in the Iranian Revolution. First to be killed. Wake up, commie lovers. Yep. And I'm telling you, your blindness is dangerous for you as well. They will take your rights. They will. I promise it. I'm not. By the way, so do they, more importantly. So as we wrap up today, thinking about and thanking Joe Barna for his life, we tell you, God willing, I'll be with you tomorrow morning at 9. And we hope that you'll be with us as well. This large dysfunctional family that keeps plugging on. Love hanging around with you. For now, though, As the Sue Henry Show approaches, Rob O'Donnell after that, we will gavel to a close today's meeting of the Club for Common Sense. Telling you, have a great afternoon. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow.